up, everyone? Welcome back to Wine and the Stars. I'm Jordan, and we are back today with another episode of the 1701D build series from Fanhome and the Eagle Moss Hero Collector series, and the first episode of our full modded build. Now, I'm going to kind of separate these out into different playlists. This is going to be, of course, every episode is going to go into our main playlist for this series. But I'm going to be creating a special separate playlist that is going to be having all the episodes that include our mods. We're going to be starting today with the Nacelle mod. And we're going to start today, and then we're not going to finish doing our mods to the Nacelles until probably Christmas. The next time I see any parts for this is stage 52, I believe. And I'm currently on stage 24, so that's like roughly another 8 months worth of packages, somewhere in that neighborhood. So, but we're going to get this process started, and we're going to basically get the practice done now so that when we get the other half of this nacelle and the next nacelle, we'll be able to be ready for what's going to happen, basically, the repeat of the process, and then I'm going to be seeing what we can do about doing some different lighting in here in the short term. So, what we're going to be doing in this episode today is we're going to go through the process, and I'm going to try to make this as informative and instructional as possible, with the idea for anyone that wants to mod your enterprise. Keep in mind, do so at your own risk. Okay, Fanhome will not take care of you if you mod something and break it. And I did not tell you to do this. Disclaimer coming out. But with that being said, if you've started the Enterprise and realized, like I have, that this ship needs to be modded in order for it to look right, I want you to be able to use these videos as a good way in conjunction with Todd, Marvel Phoenix's model remodel, because that's where I'm pulling my information from. If you want to use these two in conjunction, basically his instruction site plus my videos, that's going to be the idea for these. So, it's going to be instructional, and we're going to start today by removing all of our pieces, getting all of our screws separated out into their proper places, and then I'm going to show you all the equipment you're going to need to mod up until this point. So, we're going to start there, and then from there, we are going to go ahead and do the mods themselves. So let's go ahead and get started by disassembling something that I assembled way back in August, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and get some of my little paint things here set off to the side. I'm not sure how many different screw sets we have, but we're going to go ahead and start by removing our chiller grills. So we have all of our screws are going to come along from the inside here, as you can see. And I'm going to go ahead and remove. So we have, 4, 8, 10. So we have 10 screws holding the chiller grills in place. I'm going to go ahead and remove those, and we'll be right back. Okay, so the first part of this mod, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking our chiller grills, and we're going to be dropping them into some 91% IPA. And we're going to let them sit for a couple of hours, and then I'm going to come back with my toothbrush, as I am very good at doing, as we all know. Stripping paint is my specialty these days. Even World of Wayne asked what I was doing, and that was pretty damn cool. So, basically, what we're going to do is we're going to strip this down. We're going to go ahead and use the toothbrush to pull off our paint. And then, from there, we are going to sand down our chiller grills. We're going to sand down the outside using some 3200 Grit Sandpaper. And then from there, we are going to respray clear blue on the backside. From there, we're going to come in and tape through here all off our grills. And we will get into why we're going to be doing the taping off here in a little bit. And then from there, we're going to be spraying over our copper. So we're going to spray a copper over the top of that. And then we're going to remove all of our tape, and then we're going to go ahead and spray a dull clear over the top to remove down some of the shininess from the copper paint. and to also as well protect the piece, because there's going to be a lot of handling of these as we go along and going forward. Like, this is going to be a common piece that's going to be held. So we're going to get that into some IPA, and that'll be the first part of what you're going to see in the next part of this. So before we move on, however, what we're also going to be doing today is I'm going to flip this over, and you're going to see this piece, and this is the EM Field Grill. And what is not very apparent to you is that it is see-through, it is clear, and it is meant to be lit. And all of us know that this part was never lit. It's awful. So what we're going to be going and doing is we're going to remove this piece, and then we're going to be spraying this with some flat black. And the flat black that we're going to be using is going to be the Tamiya flat black. And we're just going to spray down flat black, and then we're going to come back with our gold, I guess gold yellow is what it's called, and we're going to be spraying this color back on, but we're going to be doing the flat black in order to prevent any light coming through. So in order to remove that, we're going to be removing the inner piece of the nacelle, and while we're at it, we are also going to be removing this formation light. So now, in proper nautical terms, of course, this formation light is red, as it is on the port side of the ship. But with that being said, however, on the actual shooting model and the Enterprise, if it was floating through space, this is white. It is not red, it is white. And so what we're going to go ahead and do with this piece as well, and with this piece, although I think I might be able to spray the dark over the top of it, and I think it'll be just fine, actually, now that I think about it. Just another layer of paint to cover it. So we're just going to soak this in some IPA as well, and we're going to take all the paint off of there, and then we're going to take some of that 3200 grit sandpaper, and we're going to go ahead and dull that down for some light diffusion. So what we're going to go ahead and do is remove all of our screws, and we have 8 screws that make up the inside, and then we have 3 along the front here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove all of these, and I will be right back. Okay, so we got our inner frame taken out. Let's go ahead and remove this clear piece, and we're going to just go ahead and set this one off to the side for later on. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and grab my light, and I'm going to turn on the smaller one here. And you can see, it is just see-through. There's no reason for this. This was not a lit up piece. The designer of this ship, specifically the one we're building, admitted that this was wrong. And so we're going to take care of that today. So that's going to be what we're going to be soaking off, along with our chiller grills. I'm going to go ahead and set them with them. And then let's go ahead and remove our formation light here. And I kind of forgot, oh my goodness, I kind of forgot that this piece was a separate piece as well. So we have our formation light as well, so we're going to go ahead and soak this off in some IPA for a couple of hours. And then from there, we are going to go ahead and just go ahead and basically just buff off and do some light diffusion at the end of that, and then reinstall. So let's go ahead and set that off to the side. Our nacelle is completely separated, and we are ready to move on. So, before we go on to soaking off our pieces and into the actual mod, I'm only going to need these 2 screw holders. So I'm going to set these off, and I'm going to leave them in the order in which I remove them, right side, left side there. And I'm going to go ahead and set this off to the side. What I'm going to go ahead and do is show you all the tools you're going to need for doing this mod today. First thing you're going to need is 91% or better IPA, or isopropyl alcohol. You're going to want this, the 91% or better. You can use 70%, but the 70% is going to take a while for you to soak the pieces off. 91% or better, there is 99%, but let me tell you, you're going to want to do that in an outdoor space or well-ventilated space. The 99% is really, really strong. But you're going to use this to soak off your pieces. Next, what you will need is the Rustoleum or Krylon, anything similar. You're going to want the frosted glass, the spray. It's going to be a clear, semi-transparent finish. We're going to be using this on the Bussard Collector, which is also one of the pieces that we're going to be soaking off today. Now, this mod really doesn't kind of take place until stage 52 when we start actually working on the nacelle again. But in preparation to get it ready for that, basically to get it ready for that stage so we don't have to do it then, we're going to go ahead and soak this off as well, and then we're going to be using the frosted glass spray on the inside to go ahead and dull this down. So this is also going to get soaked off in our IPA, but this is going to be what we use to dull down the Bussard collector, and we'll be using it a couple other places as well. Next up, what you're going to need is possibly what might be the thinnest tape I've ever seen. And I know it gets a little bit thinner than this, but this, my friends, is 1/64 of an inch tape. I have practiced with it. I've gotten used to using it. It is super thin. You are also going to need to use a couple of pairs of tweezers. What I recommend, I have ESD 13s, and then I'm going to be using some ESD 12s. I'm going to basically use the ESD 13s as the one that pulls. You have to be very careful. You can rip this tape very easily. And then I'm going to be using the ESD 12s to guide and hold in place, basically. I might actually reverse that. So yeah, it's going to be the 13s to hold the base in place, and the 12s to very carefully guide. But you're going to be using this 1/64 inch tape. I'm going to be throwing a link down in the description for this tape. It is on Amazon, and it was roughly $10, but it's worth it. It is super fine tape. I can imagine that there's going to be many other uses for this as we go along, and it's kind of weird and floppy, so I kind of like that, so it's weird. What I didn't realize I didn't have was flat black, and I think I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be using the Tamiya XF69, 69, am I right? The XF69 Nato black as my diffusion for the EM field distributor, whatever you want to call it. But basically, you want to use a flat black. I'm going to use Nato black. Nato black is always an acceptable substitution for that. But you're going to want to use either the Nato black, but preferably the flat black for the layer of light diffusion, completely blocking out the light coming through there. So you're going to want to use that. I am going to be using the Mr. Color Clear Blue. I'm going to be putting this through the airbrush. I'm curious to see what that's going to be like. I think it's going to actually work out pretty well now that I'm much more comfortable using the airbrush. Yeah, you're going to want to use the Mr. Color. It's the number 50. I know that Tamiya also makes the same clear blue. This just happened to be what was available, and I know Mr. Color or Mr. Hobby is a fantastic brand, so you want to use a clear blue, and that's going to be for the inside of the chiller grills. For the EM Field grill, you're going to want to get gold yellow. And in this case, I picked up the Vallejo Game Color Gold Yellow, and that's going to be the 72.007. And this one was hard for me to find. I had to wait about a week for it to show up on Amazon. It was shipped by a private seller. I believe it was a hobby shop somewhere on the East Coast that had this one. It's gold yellow, and you're going to want to use this one specifically. And this is the color that we're going to be using for this. It's the best possible match Marvel Phoenix was able to find for the basically the EM Field Grill. It matches closely with what you're going to see on the what do you call them, the RCS thrusters and what have you. So yeah, that's the gold color. And then finally, I know what is likely not a great clear coat. Mission models. I picked this up very early on in my model making career. I'm not going to go buy new stuff just in order to basically do this. Like, I need to use the supplies that I have. I was able to get this spray before, no problem. But I know people are gonna be like, oh, mission models, and I personally don't see the problem. So it's going to be the MMA-004 flat clear coat, and we're going to be spraying that on the outside of the chiller grills. So that's what we have for all the equipment you're going to need. Obviously, I'm going to be using an airbrush. I'm going to be using tape where needed. We're going to be using our tweezers and what have you. You'll see the equipment. The screwdriver is a PH0 from Wera. If you're building a parts build, you need one of these. So there we go. So coming up next, we're going to go ahead and throw all of our parts into some IPA. I'm going to let it soak for a couple of hours, and then we're going to come back and we're going to start by sanding off basically off the outside of the chiller grill. We're going to go ahead and dull that down, and then we are going to spray the inside with the same color blue that is currently on there, but we only want that blue to be on the inside. So we'll be back in a couple hours from my perspective. From your perspective, it'll be just up next. We'll see you in a minute. All right, we're back, and this turned out really well, with the exception of, is it this one here? And it's going to be kind of hard to pick up, maybe. But I could not, for all the soaking in the world, get that blue off. It is on there. I don't think it really matters. We're going to be throwing a bunch of color on top. It is across the top here. I can kind of feel a little bit of a strange surface texture here right now. Now that I think about it, and it's a little different, so it changes right here. I wonder if something was sanded or something like that along the way right here. Yeah, very interesting. So anyway, our parts are all cleaned up, ready to go. What we're going to do off camera, because I have to do it outside, is I'm going to spray this, the Bussard collector, with the frosted glass. And then when we come back after the spray booth, I will show you how this turned out. So I'm going to get this piece out of the way. Yeah, both of the chiller grills turned out really, really well. And then before we get moving on real quick, we're going to go ahead and take the signal beacon here, or the formation light, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to go ahead and sand down the edge, the top, just for a little bit of light diffusion. So I have my 3000 grit paper, and I'm just going to come through here and very lightly sand real quick. Go ahead and give that a fold. And only the top little bit of the beacon sticks out, so we don't need to go too far. But we're just going to go through and quickly sand up the edge so that it looks something like that. So if you see in comparison to the rest of the beacon, it is nice and diffused. And that's just for light diffusion there. Thumb is gray from doing some primer and some other things. So that part is ready to go back into the nacelle. When we are ready for assembly, I'm going to go ahead and set this part aside. So now, what we're going to do real fast is we're going to go ahead, before we get into the booth, and we're going to paint the blue on the back side of here, and then we're going to come in here with the Nato black, and we're going to go ahead and cover this in the Nato black as well. But we're going to be sanding down the edge of the chiller grill, and what this is going to be doing is helping with some light diffusion. What can wind up happening, if my plan is I want to try to get some brighter LED strips in here than the stock ones that they give us, so I want to make sure that we're getting our light diffused really, really well, especially because we are taking a layer of paint off the outside. And this is going to go ahead and help with the overall effect that we're looking for. So just like that, just a quick little diffusion, just to kind of give just the frosted texture that we're looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to both of the larger pieces, and I'll be right back. All right, we're ready for the booth. Our parts are nice and sanded up. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is get into the paint booth. And for me, what is super exciting is this is going to be the very first thing that we paint in my brand new paint booth. And it's kind of fitting that this is the first model that I started building on this channel. And I don't know, there's some sort of symmetry to that. I don't know, it's kind of cool. So we're going to go ahead and get this into the booth, and we're just going to put a couple of thin layers of the blue, clear blue, back behind here, and then we're going to go ahead and get our Nato black over the top here. We'll be right back. All right, we're back, and I gotta say, this turned out pretty good. It did take a little bit to get the... I've never run clear paint through the airbrush before. It was definitely a learning curve, but once I got it to go, man, I am never, ever hand brushing clear again. That went on so perfectly, and with the sanding that we did, we kind of get this nice dull look across the front, and we got that for all of our pieces here. So before we move on to the taping, let's go ahead and show you the Bussard collector, and it's been frosted out. So I went ahead and frosted the outside and the inside, and we are ready to go for stage 52 sometime around Christmas. So we're ready to go for that, but we'll go ahead and show what everything looks like here at the very end. But I am very happy with the result here. That was a very quick and easy little thing to do. Just spray it, did one coat, done. It was so nice. So that's ready to roll. Now, what we're going to be doing here is the most complicated part of this entire mod. What we're going to have to do is take our 1/64-inch tape. Basically, it's 1/64 of an inch. Insane. And we are going to have to run it down our grill lines. Now, the thing that is kind of frustrating about this model is there is 4 grill lines that run down the edge of the nacelle. And you can tell that they started to do it, but then they just stopped. And it's kind of just like slowly etched very slightly into the edge. So what we're going to have to do is do the 2 in the middle, and then we're going to have to come along the very top here, and we're going to have to do a thin line and create our 4th grill mark. And then right here, if you notice, let's kind of go in, you'll see this gap in the grill mark. For whatever reason, they just didn't etch it in there right there. So I'm going to go ahead and drop a piece of tape in there as well to make sure that it is nice and even on both sides. But then what I'm going to have to do is not just there, but then I'm going to run a piece of tape down each one of these grill lines. Now, if you are going to do this, I recommend doing some practice first. I have done so, and I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate the first strip going down, and then I'm going to be taking my time getting these done. So, what we're going to do is we're going to find the edge. And I'm looking at my hands right now, and I've been painting things all day long. The new airbrush paint booth thing arrived, and I am just kind of obsessed with painting right now, so I've been painting all day. Now, what we're going to do, the key is with this tape, is to get it long enough, and you need to get it around the edge of what you're trying to do, or what you're trying to tape off, because it's not going to want to naturally stick. So let's go ahead and pull a strip about that long. And then what we're going to do is you're going to use 2 pieces of tweezers. 2 pieces of tweezers. We're going to use 2 sets of tweezers. Okay, I'm going to just grab that. And then this is going to be the edge that I pull from. If I can grab it. And then this will be the ones that I grab and go for. So I'm going to start here in the middle where we can find our line. And we're just going to start it at the back and get it pressed down and sealed in where I'd like it to be, much like curved line tape. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this back on the back, and I might even be able to pull this off with my hand for a second, but the key is to know is that this tape is super flimsy, so you want to be very careful. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay that down, and actually I have my seeing eyes here, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to put them on, flip them up. I recommend you use these as well. I picked these up specifically for this. So, I'd like to be able to see what I'm doing here and get a little bit of magnification. So what I'm doing is I'm just getting it right down into the grill line. Oof. Stuff doesn't like sticking so well. My hands are just covered in paint, my goodness. Okay, then what we're going to do is some point it's twisted. There we are. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull that around back and seal it down. So now, I will do the next one actually real quick, because what we're going to have to do is do one below, above and then one below each one of those lines. So let's go ahead and get our next piece of tape. Get it long enough. There we are. Get my visor back down. And then I'm going to start along the back here. Just kind of far back, it doesn't really matter. But then it's going to come up right over the edge, just like that. And then it is going to run, well, looks like I did the bottom here. It looks like it's going to run exactly along the edge of the recess. Just like so. Ooh. Let's cut that one there with my fingernail, as you saw. Okay, so that is our second of 4 lines put in. So I'm going to go ahead and do the remaining 2 here and then all of them here, and then I will be back to show you how that turned out and explain what we're going to be doing next. I'll be back. All right, after what has taken an hour to do, this is an incredibly painstaking process to get right, but as you can see, I got it right. Each one of our grill lines has been marked off, and I'm trying to be careful with it here at this point just because I don't want to make any mistakes and knock any of that off, but each one of our grill lines is marked off, and for the both sides and the back. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and throw this back into the booth, and we're going to take some of our copper, some of our XF6, and we're going to do just a couple of very light coats over the top, and we're going to let this dry very briefly, and then we're going to go ahead and pull our tape and see how everything turned out, and then we'll be ready for reassembly. So let's go ahead and get our booth back, and we'll be right back. Alright, so I gotta say that bronze spray is so nice. It took very little encouragement to get it out of the airbrush, unlike some of the colors tonight. That blue, once again, was just a pain. So, let's go ahead and see how this turned out. I'm super curious if I did an effective enough job. So, let's go ahead and grab a piece of tape. Let's grab them all. Might as well. Let's not delay the inevitable. There we are. Now let's go ahead and pull. Oh yeah, man. That is the exact effect that I was looking for. Very nice. And we will demonstrate what that looks like here in just a moment after we pull the rest of our tape. Now remember, pull your tape while the paint is still just a little damp right before it's about to dry. So, let's go ahead and grab our next chiller grill. And kind of see the spider web we got going on back here. I'm gonna let's kind of grab a piece here and go. Oh yeah, that turned out really good. That's cool, man. You can see the blue coming through on the other side. Pull a shorty here. Yeah, for tape that doesn't want to stick down so well. Having a little bit difficult time getting some of this off. It does not like sticking, so it's odd. That's how this rolls. Nice, we got two there. Very good. Very good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull the rest of this tape, and I will be right back. Alright, so that was painstaking work, both putting it on and taking the tape off. But I gotta say, it was 100% worth it. You can see here that we got nice lines in between all of the copper there. And we're going to go ahead and show what we're going to be looking for here. So I'm just going to take my Aztec dummy sheet here on top of a shop light. This thing is really bright, but powered on, you won't be able to tell. There we go. When powered on, you won't be able to tell very well that there is copper on the outside. Look at that. Cool effect. And that's how they did it on the studio model. It's copper on the outside. So when you see the engines powered down, they are copper. So let's go ahead and see how the other one looked. Oh yeah. A little bit heavy paint right here. That's fine. I'm not worried about that. And let's go ahead and take a look here. Oh, that turned out great. I am going to go ahead and throw on a coat of clear real fast. Let it dry up for a couple minutes, and then we're going to come back and do our reassembly. And our Nacelle mod is basically done. We'll be back. Alright, so here are all our pieces, all modded up, ready to put back together. I have to say that I was a little nervous coming into this, being my first real portion of the mod, and I gotta say, it turned out exactly the way it's supposed to. Pretty damn proud of myself. So, that being said, let's go ahead and get our nacelle put back together, shall we? Let's go ahead and slide some of our parts off to the side. And we are going to actually start by taking the smallest piece, our navigation light, and we're going to go ahead and get it plugged back into its proper spot. Is that where that goes? Yeah, well, I mean, yes. But there is a flat spot. It's keyed, so it will only fit one way. There we are. All right. Let's go ahead and just kind of pull some of our stuff out of the way here. Okay. So now, let's go ahead and get our... This is how this turned out, by the way. Pretty good. A little bit of the dark is coming through, and actually, I'm going to leave it. It kind of looks okay. I'm okay with that. So, we're going to go ahead and set that down in here. And you will see that there is a slot right here, and that's going to go right there. So that's going to tab in right there. And then the same thing up here at the top. It's going to slot in right here, just like that. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take our clear piece, and you're going to see these two slots here at the very top. You're going to want to make sure that those are facing forward this way. We're going to go ahead and put that right back in place here. All right, there we are. Let's go ahead and get our frame set back into place. There we are. Perfect. Very good. All right, these are our frame screws. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is grab one of these. I'm going to put one up here at the top to secure this one into place. Alright, there we are. Now that that's in place, I'm going to come back here to the back corner. Remember, this is metal going into plastic, so do be careful. That's going to come right back here. Just till it tightens up, and that's enough. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these installed, and we will be right back. All right, our frame is put back into place. Let's go ahead and get the rear chiller grill put on. Perfect. Still fits right into place. Worried about a little bit of spraying, but hey, we're fine. And being very careful not to over tighten my screws. All right, let's go ahead and grab. This is going to be the port side. Go ahead and get it clicked down into its lugs. I'm going to go ahead and install the screws here and install the other chiller grill, and we will be right back. All right, so the big reveal, and there it is. I am very, very pleased with how this turned out. Now, obviously, this is where the Bussard collector is going to go ahead and set into place. Eventually, we're going to be putting this on. Oh, where does it go? Just like this, I believe. Something like that. Somewhere in that neighborhood. It'll look like that. Yeah, there it is. There it is. So, we'll kind of get that set into place there. The front is ready for stage 52. We're ready for internals. And we have our chiller grills properly colored. Let's go ahead and get... Oh, I'll bust out my cell phone camera for this one. And we'll go ahead and just kind of shine some lights through. And as you can see here, we get the desired effect where the blue, hopefully it's coming through on the camera. Let me double check that real fast. There it is. So you can see here that when the light comes through, you cannot tell that there is any copper along there. And this gives us the proper effect that we're looking for. But then, when the nacelles are powered off, they're copper. Very cool. Big shout out to Todd, Marvel Phoenix, and his website, myenterprised.com, and the model remodel, because I am following along there. And I gotta say, man, I'm gonna go ahead and turn off my flashlight here. Wow. I gotta say that the color there on the orange right here on the magnetic grill, oh, I just had a screw fall out. I think I may have put the wrong one in. Well, we'll take care of that as soon as we get off. But that, oh yeah, you know, you're right, Todd. This looks so good. So, that, my friends, is what I got for you in our very first mod. In the next episode, it's time for resin windows. We're going to make it happen. We're going to be practicing. I'll be showing you how to do it, and then we'll be putting our first panel back into place. So, my friends, that's what I got for you today, and I just want to say thank you. I know that there was a million things y'all could have done today. Instead, you spent a couple minutes with me, watching me take a very expensive model and modding it like an idiot. If you guys have any questions, comments, tips, tricks, please leave them down below. If you'd like to support the channel, please like and subscribe. And my friends, until we see each other again, I hope you all have a wonderful day in this beautiful world wherever you happen to be. And just remember to always live long and prosper.